Great. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Yehudah Sunshine. I'm the head of PR at Odix, and I'm excited to be here this morning with Odix CTO, Omri Eytan, and Michael Osterman of Osterman Research to discuss the importance of third-party security solutions for Microsoft 365 users. The agenda for today is to tell you a little bit about Odix, then hand off the reins to Michael to share his insights from his recent research about third-party integration within the ecosystem. Michael's overview will be followed by a demo of Odix's new app Firewall, a cloud-based email security supplement and native Microsoft 365 app, which were recently launched. This will be followed by a Q&A. I hope this sounds good to everybody, so I'll try and keep everything moving. And if at any point you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the chat and we'll address them as soon as possible. So a little bit about Odix and who we are. We're a cybersecurity company based out of Tel Aviv, Israel. We're focused on helping businesses protect themselves from malware delivered from files. We've developed our own proprietary and patented technology based on content disarm and reconstruction technology, CDR, of which Omri will be demoing after Michael's remarks. And we currently have around 25 employees. Around a year ago, we were awarded a €2 million grant from the European Commission to take our enterprise-grade CDR technology and make it applicable and accessible for SMBs, and that became Firewall. This next slide illustrates the viability of our product. Our technology has been tested and certified by independent cyber labs like PricewaterhouseCoopers, EW, Raytheon, and others, and deployed in enterprises across the United States, Europe, Israel, and beyond. This is a partial list of our customer base. As you can see, it includes enterprises from diverse segments across many sectors, including energy, industrial, government, finance, and others. Odix's technology is wrapped on really two core models. We have on-premise solutions and cloud-based CDR solutions. Omri will be presenting Firewall, as you can see on the right-hand side, which is one of our cloud-based solutions. I hope this gives you a quick overview of Odix, who we are and what we do. And now I'd like to hand off the reins to Michael.
It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to sharing some information from some recent research that we've done. And let's see, you should be seeing my desktop. Good. Well, again, thank you very much. And let's get started. Just a little bit about Osterman Research. We are an independent market research and consulting firm. And our focus is really on the way that people communicate and collaborate in the workplace. Most of what we do is focused on security. And we do a lot of primary research. We talk to IT decision makers and influencers, really trying to understand the problems that they're experiencing around security, what they're trying to do to solve those problems, how much they're willing to spend, and so forth. We do a lot of really in-depth research worldwide with primarily IT decision makers and influencers, but we also get into end user issues as well, and we look at policy and archiving, that kind of thing. The company is almost 20 years old, and we're Microsoft's headquarters in Washington State. So one of the things I like to do in a presentation like this is, whenever we talk about gaps in Microsoft 365, or we talk about deficiencies in the platform from a security perspective, what have you, I always like to start out with a caveat that says we think Office 365, or now Microsoft 365, is actually a very good solution. Microsoft has done a good job here. They've been in the business of hosted messaging and hosted collaboration now for more than 20 years, starting with Hosted Exchange 5.5 back in the late 1990s, moving through BPOS and now into Office and now Microsoft 365. They've done a good job. There's a lot of good capability here. It's very solid. It's a very robust platform. And if you're not using it today, we recommend that you seriously consider using it. It's a good platform. The problem is that the platform that's mass marketed, it cannot be everything to everyone. And our analysis of Office 365 is that it's a good platform, but it does have some deficiencies from a security perspective. There are some things that third-party solutions do better, and that also applies to archiving and encryption and so forth. But our focus today is on the deficiencies within the security capabilities of Office or now Microsoft 365. So again, we think it's a good platform. We think it can get better with the use of third parties to supplement the security capabilities that are native in the platform. As you can see here, the penetration of Office 365 is increasing. This is from our own research going back to January 2014, where just 5% of business email grade users were being supported by, at the time, Office 365, and that's grown now to more than 80%. That those numbers are going to continue to climb. The most recent numbers from Microsoft as of March of this year was that they had 258 million users of Office 365, and that those numbers are continuing to climb. One thing I'll mention too is that I use Office 365 and Microsoft 365 almost interchangeably because Microsoft just recently changed the naming, but it's essentially the same solution. So we see the growth of Office 365 continuing as more and more organizations move critical business applications like desktop productivity, email, and so forth to the cloud. They will need to use tools like Office 365, and Microsoft clearly is winning here. One of the interesting things we've found, and we've asked this question multiple times in our research over the years, is one of the real issues is that Office tends to get deployed at a high level. That is, when the decision is made to go to Office 365, it's usually made by the CIO, the CTO, the CEO of the company, and so forth. It's usually not the security architects and IT managers and so forth that are first consulted about the move to 365. Instead, this is made at a very high level. And the result is that decision makers and influencers that are really going to be managing the 365 platform don't know a lot about it when it's initially deployed. As you can see here, about 3 out of 5 of these IT decision makers and influencers know 365 at a high level, but not really in a lot of detail. Now, obviously, as they use it more and more, they know it more and more. They understand its limitations. They understand what it does well, what it doesn't do so well, and so forth. But when 365 is initially deployed, of organizations really know it all that well. And even after it's been in use a while, as signified here by the blue bars, there still are not a lot of experts around Office 365. Within most companies. They rely on consultants, they rely on Microsoft, they rely on third-party analysis and so forth. And one of the issues here is that Microsoft tends to change things on a fairly regular basis. They tend to make changes in the platform almost on a weekly basis, and so it's very difficult to keep up with what's going on in 365, and it's very difficult to become an expert at it. As a result, there are some gaps, particularly around security and archiving and so forth, that a lot of people really don't know about. They don't know what Office 365 won't do so well, for example, from a security perspective. And so it's important to really understand the platform very well, to understand what limitations it has, to understand through third-party tools, and then how you can best right-size 365 across the organization. One of the real advantages of a tool like Office 365 is that it allows you to choose different plans for different groups of users. You may want to go with Plan E5 for some users. We recommend going, as I'll talk about here in just a bit, we recommend going with a lower level plan and then supplementing that with third-party solutions. But you can even deploy E1 to some users. And so by right-sizing the 365 platform, you can not only provide better performance when you combine it with third-party tools, but you can also save yourself quite a bit of money. We also asked in various surveys about the happiness with Office 365. Do you think you made a good decision by going with the platform? And as you can see here, the vast majority think they have. Comparing 2 different surveys, the bulk of users, the bulk of organizations that have deployed 365 think they did they made a good decision by doing that. There are some that are not entirely happy about having Office 365 in place, but most are. There are very few that really disapprove of the platform or just really aren't sure if they made the right decision or not. So we see, the satisfaction with Office 365 growing over time as Microsoft does a better job at improving the productivity applications, adding features to email and collaboration and so forth. We also asked about the budget for Office 365. And as you can see here, not surprisingly, about half of the typical organization's budget goes for Office 365 itself and the core solutions around the platform. But a lot of organizations are spending on third-party security. They've noticed the limitations within Exchange Online Protection, within Advanced Threat Protection, and so forth, and they've decided they're going to go the route of using third-party security solutions in conjunction with 365. We see a lot of organizations do the same thing around archiving because of some of the e-discovery limitations, for example, in 365. And then there are a variety of other third-party solutions used as well, things around encryption, monitoring, and so forth. So, again, most organizations spend, about half their budget on the core of Office 365 itself, but we do see a lot of third-party solutions in use, and we see this continuing forward. Third-party solutions are being marketed for 365, and we think that organizations generally will be better off if they go with a combination of 365 and third-party solutions. One of the interesting things that we found in our research also is that a lot of organizations want to let Microsoft do everything for them. So they will choose Plan E5, all of the capabilities of 365, including advanced threat protection and so forth. And we see this actually increasing a little bit over time. The proportion of organizations that want to use Office 365 in conjunction with third-party solutions is holding fairly steady. The proportion that want to use more expensive Office 365 plans and just let Microsoft handle everything is actually growing over time. And we try to dissuade people from that mindset because E5 is a good platform, but it is relatively expensive, and what you're getting from the perspective of security, for example, is not as good as what you would get by using Plan E3, which is sort of a mid-level plan in conjunction with third-party tools. So, part of it is that as more and more organizations go to the cloud, they want to let the cloud provider do everything. They don't want to have the in-house expertise to evaluate third-party Office 365, even though that's a relatively easy thing to do in most cases. Many organizations don't want to do that. We think this may change over time as more organizations realize the limitations in 365 and then decide to go with a mid-level plan and then supplement that with third-party tools. Now, currently used in Office 365 are really a variety of security capabilities. Exchange Online Protection, or EOP, is relied upon by about 65% of organizations. Now, EOP comes standard with all Office 365 plans, so it's really enabled in 100% of organizations, but many organizations simply ignore it. It sits there and works in the background, but they don't really rely on it for their security. A lot of organizations are using ATP, or Advanced Threat Protection, which provides additional capabilities around security that EOP does not. So we found in a recent survey about half are using some sort of a third-party email security solution. But then a lot are using managed security service providers, MSPs or MSSPs. Many are using CASB solutions. Some are using whatever security solutions are provided by their telcos or their ISP. And then there's just a smattering of other solutions that are in place. But the bulk of organizations today are using what is provided natively by Microsoft, both EOP and ATP. And they're relying on that for the security within the 365 platform. But again, a lot are using third-party security because they've realized the limitations that exist within the context of 365. In terms of the future, we don't see dramatic changes here. Most organizations are going to be using ATP more. They're going to be relying on EOP a little bit less. A lot of organizations on tools, they'll still rely on their telcos, MSSPs, CASBs, and so forth. We do find more interest in third-party solutions over time. Again, as more organizations, as more decision makers and influencers become more familiar with the 365 platform, they start to find out things it doesn't do quite so well, certain types of malicious content that it is still allowing to get into the organization, the inability to remove malicious content from all mailboxes and so forth. So there are some limitations that organizations are starting to realize and then implementing third-party tools. Now, one of the reasons that organizations are using third-party tools is because of hybrid deployments, where, for example, headquarters will stay with on-premises Exchange or some other email platform, but then they'll go with Office 365 for satellite or field offices where they don't have or security staff that can manage an on-premises infrastructure. So, our research found that the vast majority of organizations, about 3/4, are going to go fully with Office 365 for all of their users. But a lot are going to stay with hybrid solutions. They will stay with Exchange, they'll stay with other third-party solutions, a lot of which will be on premises. And so, we don't see hybrid deployments going away anytime soon. We think this is something that's going to stay pretty much indefinitely. And there are a lot of reasons for that. A lot of organizations may not have fully amortized the cost of their on-premises infrastructure. They may decide that, it's more secure to keep some things on premises than putting everything in the cloud. There are a lot of legacy applications out there, a lot of email generating applications that simply would be, that are important, but that would simply be too expensive to rewrite for the cloud. And so organizations are going to use them. So again, hybrid deployments are going to be important, and that has important security implications because Office 365 security doesn't cover a lot of on-premises capabilities, particularly for third-party solutions. And so additional security is going to be required in these cases. So why should you upgrade the security in Office 365? Why not just go with EOP? Why not just go with ATP and let Microsoft handle it all? Well, obviously for any security solution, the catch rate for any type of malicious content's got to be very high. You've got to capture as close to 100% of this malicious content as possible. And it's not just the more obvious stuff like malware, but it's also what we call fileless malware, things like business email compromise attempts, phishing attempts, stuff that has no payload. You've got to have a very high capture rate on this because occasionally there will be a user that will they'll click on a link they shouldn't, despite good security awareness training and despite capturing most of the stuff. Eventually something's going to get through. So you've got to catch ideally 100%, but certainly it's got to be in the very high 90s. However, there was an SE Labs analysis done in early 2020 that found that the accuracy rating for Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection, ATP, was only 28%. And there were 8 solutions evaluated. The top rated solution in that analysis got 94%. So 28% is really not that good. It's important to be able to capture, again, as close to 100% as possible. ATP didn't come anywhere close to that in the SE Labs analysis. And what we have found in our research is that when you use third-party solutions, you can get, depending obviously on the solution you choose, you can get phishing, malware, business email compromise attempts, and so forth. And so if you have good third-party solutions used in conjunction with Office 365, you'll achieve much better security, much higher catch rates for malicious content. And so it's important to evaluate those solutions in conjunction with 365 to make sure you're really as secure as you possibly can be. So the ability to remove malicious content, excuse me, is absolutely critical. If you find it in one mailbox, it should be removed in all mailboxes because that's now malicious content. You shouldn't treat it on a case-by-case basis. Not all solutions do that. Some will remove it from the mailbox when they find it for one user, but they won't do it for everybody across the organization. Now, Office 365 includes a feature they call ZAP, excuse me, or zero-hour auto purge, and it partially addresses the requirement, but ZAP will automatically move something they find that's malicious. They'll move it from a user's inbox to their junk folder, but it doesn't permanently delete it. The user can go back into the junk folder and maybe mistakenly bring it back out, execute the malicious content, and you've got an infection in the organization. Users should not still have access to malicious content that's been identified by the system, but using ZAP they do. Now you can use PowerShell to completely delete the malicious content, but it can be risky. There are some problems associated with doing that. Now, I mentioned earlier that the cost of Office 365 varies by the plan, and these are really important differences. Now, Microsoft offers discounting for various users. What we're using here are list prices for Microsoft 365, and so your pricing certainly may vary available with Microsoft, how aggressive they're trying to be in winning your business and so forth. But at retail, Plan E5 goes for $57 per user per month or $684 per user per year. Plan E3 is significantly less expensive, $25 less per seat per month or $32 per month or $384 per year. And what you're looking at here is a fairly significant savings by going with Plan E3, $300 per user per year. And so if you are using Office 365 at a lower level, Plan E3, it gives you a fairly substantial budget to buy other third-party solutions that will actually provide better performance. You could get, based on our analysis of pricing from third parties, you could get a very good security solution, a very good archiving solution, and a very good encryption solution, all of which are better than what's available 65 and still save money in the process. So the advantage of using a lower level Office 365 plan or here Microsoft 365 plan is that you can save a substantial amount of money and get significantly better performance in the process. So we highly recommend looking at third-party solutions. It takes a little more work. You have to do the evaluation, but you're really much better off by doing that. So in summary, Office 365, we think it's a solid platform. We highly recommend that organizations use it, provides very good communication, very good collaboration capabilities, and Microsoft continues to improve the platform over time. It pretty much includes everything. It's got security, archiving, encryption, really a wide variety of features. The problem is that some of these features are not as good as what you would find with third parties. A lot of third parties offer better better feature set. And so what we think is that the combination of lower priced Office 365 plans and third-party specialized solutions can really result in better performance as well as a much lower total cost of ownership. And so Yehudah, I'd like to hand the floor over to you now.
Thank you very much, Michael, for giving over those remarks. Really appreciate it. I'm going to now pass it on to odix CTO Omri Eytan to give over a live demo of Firewall. Omri? You're on mute, Omri.
Okay, hey everyone. Sorry for the delay. So I'm Omri Eytan. I'm the CTO at odix, and I will be presenting Firewall solution for Office 365. I think that the first thing, that we want to talk about, continuing what Michael said, is why use third-party email security solutions when you already have Office 365 and you have the native security solutions available more or less at a click of a button. So again, as Michael mentioned, the custom third-party security solutions have far better accuracy. If you're interested in this, I recommend going over the SC Labs reports. They detail that very well. Second thing is the advanced features that you get with security solutions. Office 365 native security are a bit lacking. Microsoft need to cater to a very wide range of clients, and they release features that are one size fit all and not always allow the granularity required by organizations from their security solutions. And the third is that although Microsoft security teams are amazing and we've been working closely with them recently, they're still part of a large organization and they still take time to bring new technologies to the market, while third-party vendors are usually much quicker in delivering new technological features and new anti. So I see that the poll just popped up. Are we ready with results yet? Yehudah, Alon?
I think that the poll has just been released, so I think everybody should vote right now, and then we'll discuss the results a little bit later, maybe at the end of your demo, if that works.
Okay, sure. Sure, great. So now that we talked about the benefits of third-party security solution, I want to talk a bit about why using the native Microsoft API, the Graph API, the benefits that it provides over using a standard SMTP relay-based solution. So the first and most important, I think, is the ability to analyze internal email traffic. We've seen that there is a significant rise in threat actors utilizing account takeovers and leveraging internal email accounts to deliver malware internally in the organization to bypass the external security solutions that are relays in front of the Office 365 servers. Second is the fact that you can easily communicate with other Microsoft resource and assets. For example, we have a native integration with Microsoft Sentinel, which is their SIMSOAR platform. We can easily access data about the organization, such as user accounts from Active Directory groups and so on, to really tie into the Microsoft ecosystem that the clients are using. Third is the ability to continually access the inbox. Unlike gateway solutions, the SMTP relay solutions that get the message, do the work, and pass it on to the next SMTP relay in the chain, if you work with the API, then you can continuously access messages in the inbox and alter them even retroactively. Michael talked a bit about ZAP provided by Microsoft that leverages the same mechanism. So using this, you can retroactively quarantine messages, delete files, return files into messages, and you don't need to do everything, deliver the email message to the next hop. Fourth, and I think this one is a bit overlooked at times, third-party email solutions that are set as email relays before the Microsoft servers tend to cause some degradation in the Microsoft security capabilities and the native security capabilities because Office 365 doesn't see the server that is sending the email, but they are seeing the security solution that is in front of them. So some of the data that they derive from the sending server is lost. And last is the easy deployment. If anyone has ever deployed an email, an SMTP mail gateway solution, they know that it structural deployment, you need to put it in place, you need to change MX records, you need to wait for propagation. You can only test this on the entire email tenant, and you can do it on a single user basis. And when you use the API, it's seamless. You just grant the application permissions and it is ready to access the inbox. You can grant differential permissions, allow the app to access only data in the inbox of specific users, and do a very gradual one-click deployment as you go. Coming to that, so we talked about third-party security solutions and the benefit that they have in the native apps and the native API apps and the benefits that they have. And kind of culminating from that, we decided to develop a native app for Office 365 that will leverage our CDR technology that will be able to provide advanced attachment protection with simple and easy deployment. This product is called FileWall, and we launched it yesterday. I'm still pretty excited about that. So I'll talk a bit about CDR and give a bit of background. So CDR stands for Content Disarm and Reconstruction. It's an acronym that Gartner coined about 2 years ago. And CDR is a method to deal with files. And the way that it's done is once a file is processed, it is broken down to its internal components. About an Office document, then the images, text, graphs, code, and links are extracted from the original file, and then they are resynthesized and disarmed. So if we're talking about image, they are resampled to eliminate steganography or any additional data payload that is hidden within the image. Text is resynthesized as well to eliminate white space fingerprinting, to detect scripting languages within the text files. Graphs or external data sources are photocopied. The data values are copied, and the direct link to the external source is severed. Code such as macros, ActiveX, JavaScript, etc., is just blocked, either blocked, neutralized, or rewritten. And so we have all these disarmed components. We are now in the D of CDR. And now we reconstruct a document that is similar from the user perspective to the original document, but with disarmed and neutralized components that are safe to use and can be inserted into the organization. So Gartner have a few quotes about CDR and how it can be used as a sandbox replacement and how it can be used as an additional layer on top of the sandbox to provide very quick response times. Okay, I see that we got do that in a second. So I'd really recommend going into the Gartner reports and how they envision CDR be used to raise security levels on email and other file vectors. Okay, and a bit about the key features that FileWall delivers. So we use CDR to effectively protect the user and the organization from zero-day attacks and unknown threats. We enforce file type filters on embedded content, nested files, and we do some nice work with that. I'll show you that in a demo in a bit. We can inspect links within files. We've seen a lot of lately that have the login page in a Word document that later sends the credentials out from the document. We haven't seen any solution that inspects the links within the files to date. We do that out of the box. And we have a very, very granular policy mechanism that allows the system admin to really adjust the attack surface that they're exposing to email-borne attachments by filtering out and adjusting the business requirements with the security requirements so that no vector that is not supposed to be provided to the users is there. Our security filters to password protected files by allowing the user to enter the password and then do our work on the file and re-encrypt it. And most importantly, we can be activated alongside ATP as an additional layer of security. So if you have ATP, this is not, and do not need to choose which solution is better for you. You can easily activate them both and enjoy the best of both worlds. I think that we'll go over the poll before I go with the demo. So I see here in the poll that most participants, 70%, have the default EOP as their main security control. Goes very nicely. This matches the statistics that Michael's shown. It's simple. It comes out of the box. You know, it does some amount of work. Michael, do you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, not a surprise, and actually very close to the stats that we found in our own research. I think organizations, decision makers tend to rely on really what comes out of the box with Microsoft. And again, that points to the fact that they don't know a tremendous amount about the security capabilities when they initially deploy it. And then over time, when they find things don't go quite right, that's when they start looking for third-party solutions.
Okay, great. So I'll close this one. And without further ado, move to the demo portion of our session. So this is the FileWall login page. FileWall is a SaaS application that you access via the browser. As I mentioned, we are a Microsoft native app, so you authenticate with your Microsoft credentials as well. Give it a second. When you log in to FileWall, you get a quick overview of what's going on regarding file types going through the organization and how they were processed. You get a security score that indicates the amount of coverage that FileWall provides to the organization. You get some totals of what happened in the account. We also generate and indicate risky users. There's nothing here at the moment because I am the only active user in this account. And after you install FileWall from the marketplace, as we mentioned, there's no MX record change required, no advanced infrastructure deployment that requires you just come here to the user management sections. You have the information about the amount of licenses that you've bought. You can just select a user and activate it. And this takes 2 seconds. And once this process is done, the user is activated and their incoming emails are now sanitized. Users are assigned the default policy. Okay, so all users get the default policy that is applied to all the unassigned users that do not have a custom policy assigned to them. I have a custom policy that applies to me that I have built for the demo. Let's have a look at it. So the policy allows you to set the security controls and to which users it applies on, adding or removing users from a policy. Super simple. This is only the account that I've just added. So I applied it and updated it, and now this policy will apply to her as well. Let's go back to this. Okay, so in the first section, you can what CDR does and on what it will apply. So in this case, you can see that it applies on all the images. Any attachment of these types that will be sent to my inbox will undergo the CDR process. Same goes for documents from the Adobe family or the Office family. There's also the ability to have some more granular control over the specific types. For example, if you want to set policies over legacy Office files versus the OpenXML format Office files, for example, you could remove macros from the legacy Office files while allowing macros to go through with and let Word native security take care of that. You can also decide whether you want to remove or retain templates, TDE, equation 3, external frames, ActiveX, and subdocuments within these files. Very simple configuration. I'll just leave it on for everything. And I will go to the second section, which is the file type filter. The file type filter allows the admin to set which file types are allowed into the organization. It can either be set by allowing all the files except for those mentioned in the exception box, or to block all files except for the mentioned files. That we at Odix do not allow any file type except for documents, images, and a handful others, text files, for example. All other files are blocked and inspected. So in this case, I have my policy allowing all files except for executable files. And I will go to my inbox. As I mentioned earlier, because we are working with the API, then FileWall is able to inspect emails sent within the tenant. So in this case, I will be sending an email to myself that will also be caught and inspected by FileWall. And in this case, I'll try to bring an executable inbox. So you see that Microsoft does not allow me to attach an executable flat out to a message. It is forbidden by the Office 365 type filter. But what I can do is take that executable and put it in a Word document. Now, once it's in a Word document, I can attach it to the email without a problem, but I will not be able to run it from Word because Word does not allow to launch executables directly. So from an attacker perspective, that won't work as well.
Omri, as you're sending this through a system with ATP or with EOP?
This is a system with EOP only. And for that is that ATP takes a few minutes to process the files, and we don't want to waste precious webinar time on waiting for ATP to do its work. So let me get back to that. So what I did to bypass the Word filter is I zipped the executable. And Word does allow you to launch a zip file, and from here I can launch my executable, the Windows calculator. So this does involve some clicks from the user. We have seen various social engineering techniques that try to get the user to open the files. Typically, it would say that the file is compressed to save bandwidth for your privacy, stuff like that. Okay, I won't save it. So now that we have this file that we can launch the executable from, I'll attach it to the document, to the message, and send it to myself. Okay, so you see the email arriving, and you see FileWall taking the message from the inbox for inspection. So now in the background, what FileWall is doing, the file, it is a Word document, an old Word document from a 97 format. So it converts it to the new format, goes over it, deconstructs it, disarms it, sees that there is a zip file within the document, extracts it from the document, extracts its content, sees that there. And what happened is that FileWall has blocked the, sorry about that. Okay, my browser is not playing along with us. Okay, here we are. Okay, so FileWall has blocked the document with the executable. The fact that FileWall was able to get to the embedded document, it is because it bypassed EOP type filter. Even though EOP does not allow executables, we were able to fairly easily get the executable past the EOP type filter. And FileWall saw that and blocked our executable. If we go to our quarantine, then you can see that I have my embedded zip that was blocked. You can see that it found it within the embedded zip, calc doc, word embeddings, bin, calc zip. It tore the file apart, found the executable in it, and blocked it. And of course, because we need to provide business continuity options, let's say that this was something that I really needed. Let's say that I'm an IT person that needs some irregular files, or this is some important contract that we trust the sender. So the system admin can select to release the email from the admin console. Needs to provide the reason why the email is released. Select release. And of course, now in the backend, FileWall is releasing the file. Okay, you can see that the email was released. You can see that we audit who released the file and why it was released. This is also logged into our audit trail. And of course, all this info is shipped to Sentinel if the tenant has Sentinel for forensics work if needed later on, if this file did cause any trouble. And in my inbox, you can see that the email itself had changed. I talked previously about the fact that we can manipulate the messages while they are in the inbox. So this is it. We did not need to send a different email. We did not need to do any, kind of outside patchwork. This happened in the inbox. The email message has changed in the inbox. The banner has changed, and my file is now available for me to open with the original content. Okay, so that covers our demo portion. If you guys have any questions regarding that, I'd like to take them right now. Yehudah, any questions?
Yeah, we have a couple that were submitted. First, let me thank you for that presentation. It was really interesting. Let's go through a little bit quickly right now. So one question we're asked by Oren is, can users access files during the CDR process?
No, they can't. As you've seen, email was taken from the inbox so that the users are not able to manipulate it during processing. But unlike Sandbox's CDR processing is fairly quick. The scenario that we've seen is a relatively complex one where we need to extract a file within a file, and that has taken somewhere between 5 to 10 seconds. Standard flat files and documents take somewhere between 2 and 3 seconds. Most users don't even know that the email has gone missing until they see the sanitized version in the inbox.
Very interesting. We have another one here. Microsoft already has a built-in type filter. How is Firewall's type filter different than the Microsoft type filter?
Good question. I asked before the demo. So as you can see, our type filter knows how to get deep into the file contents and find a nested and embedded content within files, and we also support various archive types that Microsoft do not know how to peer into and look into their contents and enforce their type filter in those files.
Great. This question is directed towards Michael and Omri, so maybe we'll start with Michael to answer first. We already have a third-party solution. Why should we add a secondary third-party solution?
Well, I think it really goes to the results. If you've got a third-party solution that's capturing everything that it needs to, then maybe stick with that. We find a lot of third-party solutions based on like the SEC Labs analysis that it's not catching anywhere close to 100%. So I think you have to evaluate independent solutions and obviously try to have a catch rate that's as high as possible. So if your existing third-party solution is not doing that, I think it warrants looking at others.
Great. So I'm going to pass it on to Omri. Why do you think that Firewall should be an additional third-party solution that's added to the bundle?
That's a very good question. I think that FileWall provides a level of attachment security that is unparalleled in the market at the moment. We've examined and looked at a lot of solutions, and we found them lacking in a lot of fronts, and we kind of took these and integrated them into FileWall to provide a security solution that is file and attachment based, and focused to provide the highest levels of security for this vector.
Great. So we're running a little bit tight on time. So would like to thank everybody for joining us. And I'm sorry if we did not get to answer all of the questions. If you have any follow-ups, please email us at info@odi-x.com. Once again, thank you for your time, and we look forward to talking to you very, very soon. All the best and have a great day, everyone.